Ariel. Hey, congratulations for trim season.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I like woke up this morning. I'm like, I'm not in New Orleans. It was a whirlwind weekend.
I was gonna say that was a you premiered at the Overlook Film Festival in New Orleans. How did that go with you?
It was great. We had our first day on Friday when we premiered. They actually did an overflow theater just to accommodate the people who were interested, which is like the best possible honor. When I introduced the second theater, I was like, then please all come into the same theater at the end for the Q&A. Like I was just so grateful, and we got just even people we would bump into later around the theater who would have lovely things to say, and I was just really grateful and so happy that people enjoyed it.
That is awesome. That's an awesome experience, especially for a second film for yourself.
And the first one I hadn't gotten the that audience energy experience. So with this, to actually hear some of the like, oh, is it like the have you seen it? I don't want to spoil anything.
I haven't seen it, you know.
Okay, well then I don't. Some of the gross out gore moments got some really good visceral. You don't get that just you and the editor. It was nice to hear a whole crowd be affected.
So so tell us where the original idea came from for trim season.
So it was actually already a concept between our producer Shawnee and then our other story by credits, Megan and Cullen, who are also amazing. And Cullen was able to be at the festival, and Megan and Cullen had both had experience in Northern California in the trimming industry. So I think they had all been throwing around these ideas with Shawnee about how there was so much if you're up there and you're isolated and you're already hearing these human threats in the woods, stone cold sober, you'd be hearing these animals, people, gunfire, and then if you're partaking, which many of them are, if you're high while doing this, that's even more than extrasensory creepiness. So I think all of that spiraled into almost the next natural step of, okay, well then if you're already having these, not wanting to leave your tent at night, and what if it really was something, supernatural out there? And the screenwriter David Blair took it from the three of them, and then the two of us worked together on the iteration that you see on the screen. And it was a great process of my production designer Katie and I. We went to some other farms in Northern California, and just to get as much of a in depth, like it's legalized now and it wasn't in the setting of the movie, but just to like really see the locations and how far these trimmers would be like traveling off road. And long story long, it was a good adventure.
That sounds terrific. And you found an actual a California farm to for your production then, huh?
Well, so we actually we were fortunate. It's also another beautiful state. The majority of principal photography is in Utah.
Oh.
So a lot of our crew were from Utah, and we all flew or drove. I helped drive the art van across the desert, and we filmed in a just outside of Salt Lake City, a town called Brighton. And we had a lot of the prop cannabis like shipped in from manufacturers overseas, but then all of our little interstitial shots of of the fields and the farms, those were then back in Northern California right after we stopped filming, and we knew exactly what we wanted. My wonderful cinematographer Luca Bazzelli and I went up the coast to get all those perfect little shots. So you're in a van in Utah, our actors looking out, and then we're cutting to the real Humboldt County.
Do you love directing? I want to call it a thriller in this case. Do you love this type of genre for yourself?
I mean, I think that I'm gonna, gonna chug this coffee. I mean, even a lot of the posters behind me growing up on whether it was action or sci-fi, anything that was like otherworldly, anything that wasn't just the contemporary, what you could experience in the day to day, and it would be the connections of people in these larger than life scenarios that I felt like whether it was a family or friends or siblings, all of that, like all of the bonds and sacrifice are amplified if you're in this again, even more, you said, thriller, like even crazier circumstances than you would ever find, and just like, well, here's my experience in my rural upbringing in Michigan. And it's like, well, what sort of, these tales of friendship and how far you would go to someone else, that, yeah, that thriller element, that like the stakes being so high that I think it can raise the emotions even higher. No offense to rom-coms or anything, but those never like appealed to me. I was like, I want the craziest of circumstances so that you're terrified for hopefully characters you've fallen in love with at this point. So yeah, as larger than life you can make the stakes, then I think the emotion of the characters, you're like, oh, these people are friends, how far will they go? You need to have the biggest world to see that play out.
I can't imagine the challenge of this production. There are probably night shoots on a farm here.
Oh yeah, it was almost entirely, there's our first week in Utah. We had a few scenes when they first get to the farm. Those were in the day, and then we had a pretty quick, a couple splits and then into full nights. And it was, as many independent shoots are during the daytime, like my cinematographer and production designer Katie and I would still be running around to try to find a location would fall through. There was actually a forest fire and everyone was okay, but we lost access to one of our locations. So we would be filming at night, but during the day we were still I was like, I hope everyone else is sleeping and, to be fresh for the night. But we would get like 2 hours of sleep and, running around, to solve little, all the little filmmaking, surprises that pop up. But we just avoided snow or, anything like completely, show stopping for we needed it to look like September in Northern California. But we went down for rain and like thunder and lightning almost every other night. We would already be shooting in those circumstances and then have to hold for the lightning, hold for all of that. And I just tried to keep bringing hand warmers for the crew, and just trying to keep everybody. I brought like little eye masks and earplugs. So I was like, when you all go home in the morning, if you have loud roommates, like, I'm sorry. I hope everyone's getting enough sleep. But it was pretty cold in like, high elevation Utah.
Well, I'm glad that snow didn't arrive because that would look odd for a marijuana farm, that's for sure.
Yeah. We had one of the gentlemen helping us on his mountain was like, oh yeah, and these lower pine trees in the winter, you can't even see them. They're just the snow, literally the skiers just know where to avoid that like 2 inches under. I'm from Michigan where it snows, but not so high elevation that's a concern. So yeah, that's why we were like, I said, under the clock, you lose a location. You can't be like, we'll get it next month. It's like, next month it's going to be yellow and red. Next month it's going to be snowy. Like, we got to shoot now.
Talk about your cast because I've seen there are some recognizable names in your cast. It's like the who's of independent cinema in your cast there.
Wow, I mean, there's so many. I'm like, I hope I have enough time to mention everyone. Um, I mean, obviously we have Jane Badler as our Mona, who is just, a delicious villain, but also one of our producers. So she wasn't able to join me this morning, but she was heavily involved in, just the conception of the film and her character and how that would, how she wanted to approach her role, and then feeding that into, Emma as her foil or all of that. And I could go on and on to make sure I don't forget anyone. Beth Million I won't say final girl. I won't give anything away, but she's our gem of a lead. And yeah, she had just finished Sick, actually, which just premiered recently. And it also shot in Utah. So I had met her via Zoom and absolutely loved her, and was hearing amazing things from our crew in Utah, and was so like ridiculously happy when we could make everything like work in the nick of time to have her come and be our lead. And then Alex Esso, like you said, obviously it's just like the horror royalty for our Julia. And to round out, so I was just like, oh, there's so many people. As like this Mark Center, as he's the one who swoops the two of them, off. But then to round out our trimmers, we have Bex Taylor Cloths, who's obviously, we had a really wonderful process early on in talking about the role of Dusty. And really, it's something that I wanted to do for everybody, of like, let's dive in to the script, not treat every line as gospel, but like really make it feel like something, personal and significant. So I was able to have some just really really beautiful calls with Bex about the character of Dusty, and and their dynamics with the other characters, and with Malcolm, the younger brother, Ryan Donahue. And so Bex was amazing. Has to do, you'll see you'll see some extreme uh physical work that I was, like you said, cold mountain. They put up with a lot. And then Ali Ioannidis is our Harriet, is our resident stoner with some great socio-political commentary. Everything I kind of wanted to like wedge in, I got Harriet to say.
Mm-hmm.
And Juliet Kendapalanfazi is our Lex. And she was newer to the scene too. And oh, I see. I was gonna say, I think Jane is joining us soon. But that Lex was just, she was newer to the film scene, and I was just super honored to, I was like, are you willing to run into the mountains with us for your, for her first feature? And she just kills it. And then yeah, we have Corey Hart and Ryan Donahue as our brothers, sons of Mona, and lots of other great, day players. But like, to be in that, quick turnaround, long nights, cold nights, to be able to trust no matter what. If I fall off the mountain, like, these people, they've got it. Just keep the camera rolling. They'll finish the movie, because they were just all bringing so much more to the screen than was even on the page. And like, yeah, just finding those interpersonal moments, that you can't, but obviously the script was beautiful, but seeing what they would do when they would meet and go back to the hotel and come the next day and be like, well, we were thinking maybe a little bit of this, and just feel so lucky.
Well, one more thing, Ariel, before I let you go, because I personally haven't seen the movie yet, but it sounds like there's plenty of blood and gore. There's always that debate, practical effects and special effects and computer effects and so on. Which side are you on something like this?
I'm definitely on the practical effects side. And I'm a proponent of, a lot of times, the best VFX obviously you don't even see. So sometimes I feel like when people kind of recoil from VFX, they don't even realize some of the magic that is just, VFX in this is different, painting out reflections and things that we needed to make scenes, connect to each other. But every monster, creature, character, gore moment, yeah, we've got like Lord of the Rings over there. It's like, the Uruk-hai and Fellowship. It's like, that'll look great in 1,000 years, like that will always be, not only, beautifully rendered on camera, but I just feel like, for the talent and the crew as well, when you're there and you're like looking at the blood pouring out, and you're not just saying like, hey everybody, be sad about this character, because there will be a lot of blood. It's like, I come from a theater background, you don't have visual effects. What's on the stage is on the stage. So to be able to have everyone in that environment where they're recoiling from something being chopped off, or the tragedy of seeing someone bleeding out, but I have so many dear VFX artist friends. So there's sci-fi movies where I will badly need to have the honor of their collaboration. But in our, gritty little folk horror in the woods, it was practical through and through. And Kelly Donahue from Utah, from Salt Lake City, was our special effects artist, and she was, yeah, like I said, all of the little gross outs, and like, I hope no one like lost their lunch, but I was appreciating the visceral response to those practical effects.
Most excellent. Well, Ariel, hey, thank you very much for carrying this conversation with us. Let's cross our fingers, hopefully getting picked up, and either to more film festivals or picked up for distribution. So hey, congratulations once again.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I want everyone to see it. So fingers crossed. And thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Hey, not a problem. Thank you.